January 7th, 2018, a Reddit user named Bachin320 made a post on the Beaverton, Oregon subreddit describing a bizarre radio broadcast.
KZRYLP Portland.
Around the same time, another Reddit user named Jimmy Results made a very similar post on the Beaverton subreddit. This made it clear that the issue wasn't limited to Bachin320 car radio. As time went on, more and more reports of the unusual broadcasts began appearing online, all connected to 96.7 FM. Now, if these noises had simply been random static, most people would have assumed it was a technical issue and forgotten about it. But what made the broadcasts so unsettling was the fact that they constantly changed. Listeners reported hearing the station switch between white noise and something that sounded like a very loud fan. And most disturbing of all, old recordings of speeches by Martin Luther King Jr., John F. Kennedy, and even broadcasts from the Apollo 11 mission.
We're approaching the 60-second mark on the Apollo 11 mission. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. We passed T-minus 60.
I also found reports of these strange noises dating back to 2017, and one post from a now-deleted Reddit account really stood out. It read, "Did I record some kind of number station? Recorded this off of FM radio. 167 at about 6:30 p.m. The radio station is not officially listed. It went on in this pattern for several minutes before just playing some white noise type tone for hours and hours on end. No station call. The station is a Turok station I never heard of. The next day they played MLK speeches and something that maybe could be called ambient music, slow motion tones, and worrying sounds. Nothing it's played is recognizable by Shazam. Any input is welcomed. The person who made the post also included a video recording of the broadcast. And sure enough, the sounds match the ones that Bachin320 and other listeners would hear a year later. As far as I could tell, reports of these strange noises continued until June 2018 before disappearing just as suddenly as they had appeared. The fact that the broadcasts lasted for nearly a year and a half makes it unlikely that this was simply a troll hijacking the frequency. Over such a long period of time, someone working at the station would have almost certainly noticed the interference and fixed the problem. So, if the noises weren't the result of a technical malfunction or a hacker, then what were they? The only people who might have had the answer were those who owned and operated the station. While reviewing one of the recordings, listeners noticed what sounded like a distorted station call sign hidden within the broadcast, KZRYLP.
KZRYLP.
Looking up this call sign in FCC public records from August 2018 reveals that the station was licensed to the Community Alliance of Tenants, a non-profit organization dedicated to helping renters understand their rights. However, this discovery raised more questions than it answered. What does a tenant advocacy group have to do with a series of eerie and unexplained radio broadcasts? When people reached out to the Community Alliance of Tenants, the organization denied having any knowledge of interference or unusual activity involving the station. This left many people with one remaining theory, that the broadcasts were intentional. As for why they would do this, the answer is simple: attention. Think about it. You're driving down the road flipping through radio stations, looking for something interesting to listen to. Then suddenly you come across a frequency broadcasting creepy noises and strange sounds. Chances are you'd remember it and probably tune back in later to find out what was going on. According to this theory, the station was airing these broadcasts during off hours to spark curiosity and attract listeners to a station that otherwise focused on discussions about tenant rights. In fact, people were suggesting this possibility as far back as 2018, when the strange broadcasts first started gaining attention online. And while the Community Alliance of Tenants has never admitted to creating them, many internet users remain convinced that the entire thing was a publicity stunt designed to attract attention. Whatever the truth may be, the mystery has effectively come to an end. Today, 96.7 FM no longer operates under the same format and has since been replaced by a rap music station. On January 25, 2015, a Reddit user named Disco Godfather 6922 made a post on the Salt Lake City subreddit. The post showed a photo of a mysterious bright green building with almost no context. The only clues were several signs that read, "Fun Time Kids Care," suggesting that the building was either a daycare center or at least pretending to be one. The title of the post immediately caught people's attention. What's the deal with this place? Lived across the street from it for 5 years, never seen a kid there? An abandoned daycare doesn't sound very interesting. But there was something unusual about this building. Several things didn't seem to make sense. The paint on the outside looked fairly new, while the signs looked old and faded. The windows also looked strange, with some appearing to be covered from the inside. People quickly noticed these details, and the post began attracting attention across the internet. As more users examined the photos, theories started spreading about what the building could really be. Then the mystery took another strange turn. A few days after the original post, Disco Godfather 6922 went back to the location and later shared an update in the comments about what they had seen. "So I just came back from the place and found something in the back covered by a camo tarp. I then saw a Mexican man come out, pick something up, and go back inside earlier in the day. I went there and saw a pizza guy trying to deliver a pizza to the place. He knocked and nobody came to the door. He left and I was about to as well, until I noticed kids walking up to the door and trying to get in. Finally, an old Mexican lady opened the door and let them in. 5 years of living here, never saw a single person go in or out. Then in one day, I see 4 people. Weird." While some people joked that the building looked like a secret headquarters for Walter White from Breaking Bad, others took the situation much more seriously. To them, the daycare didn't look like a normal daycare at all. Some believed it could be a front for money laundering, while others came up with even darker theories, suggesting it might be connected to something far more sinister. As the mystery grew, so did the speculation. One user also questioned the timing of Disco Godfather 6922, claiming to have seen 2 children near the building shortly after the post had gone viral. To them, the timing seemed a little too convenient. They wrote, "Could still be a drug fry, but perhaps due to the additional attention it's getting, they're bringing in some of their own kids to make the place look more convincing." Before Disco Godfather 6922 and the rest of the internet could uncover any real answers, a Reddit user named Deathship stepped in with a warning, telling people to stop investigating the building. This only made people more curious. As Reddit users dug into Deathship's background to understand the reason behind the warning, they uncovered some surprising information. According to his account, Deathship was a retired Air Force linguist who spoke 8 languages, and had even spent time at Area 51. If those claims were true, some users wondered if the mysterious building could somehow be connected to a government agency such as the FBI, CIA, or Department of Defense. And if Deathship knew something about it, that would explain why he was telling Disco Godfather 6922 to back off. But things became even more disturbing when, shortly after Deathship's comment, Disco Godfather 6922 claimed to have received threatening messages from other users. The messages warned him to delete his posts, stop asking questions, and abandon the investigation altogether. Some even claimed to know who he was and suggested that dangerous people were involved. Then another strange discovery fueled the conspiracy even further. People found records linking the daycare to a shipping container imported from China. The cargo manifest listed 1,100 kilograms of plastic jewelry and 6,825 kilograms of footballs and soccer balls. The weight seemed unusually high for lightweight plastic items, leading them to speculate that the daycare might somehow be connected to human trafficking. Fortunately, none of these theories turned out to be true. Official child care licensing records from the Utah Department of Health show that Funtime Kids Care was simply a legitimate daycare facility. A more recent comment from Reddit user Baby Tears also supported this conclusion with a personal story that read, "I know this post is old, but my dad actually went there as a kid. It's ran by a nice older lady. Apparently my dad told me it's usually meant for kids as kind of a safe haven, daycare to protect children who have a parent or family member that isn't meant to be in contact with them, that's deemed as more dangerous or persistent. Hence why the windows are semi-covered with curtains and drawings also for safety. That's why there are only a few kids in there. I live right by it, and they actually just painted the building a bright green with yellow windows." In the winter, there's cute snowmen in the playground. Looking into the daycare's history, it turns out that Funtime Kids Care was originally established in 1973 and was much more active in its earlier years. However, after the business was purchased by a man named Richard Yoakum sometime after 2006, things began to decline. Over the years, multiple complaints were filed against the daycare. These included reports of infants being left outside without supervision, staff yelling at children, and concerns about the condition of the facility's sanitary areas. As a result, the business gradually began to struggle. Despite operating at a loss, Richard continued running the daycare and eventually handed it over to his elderly mother, reportedly so she would have something to keep her occupied. As for the warnings from Death Ship and the other threatening messages, they appear to have been nothing more than internet trolls taking advantage of the growing mystery. What started as a photo of a strange building quickly turned into something much larger than it really was. On May 15, 2023, Richard Yoakum passed away at the age of 79.